Once upon a time, there lived a woman whose name was Ngozi. She was the kind of woman every woman dreamed to be: elegant, successful, and always in control. She ran her interior design company the way a general runs an army. Her home in Owerri was organized and spotless, like the palace of a queen. Everything she touched turned perfect. Every worker she hired respected her. Every client wanted her, and every problem around her obeyed her command. But there was one thing Ngozi could not control: her daughter, Chichi. Chichi was 16, spoiled beyond repair, and believed the entire world revolved around her. She grew up surrounded by cooks, drivers, expensive gadgets, imported toys, and more privileges than she could count. By the time she turned 15, she had perfected the art of speaking to her mother like she was a housemaid. "Mommy, please," she would shout. "I'm not a child. All my friends are in boarding school. Why can't I go too?" Her father, Chief Emeka, believed boarding school would discipline her. But Ngozi disagreed with all her heart. She knew her daughter better than anyone. "Chichi will cause trouble," she warned. "Let her stay at home." But Chief Emeka simply shook his head. "Then she will learn. We can't pamper her forever." Against her will, Chichi was enrolled into Queen of Peace Girls College, Owerri, one of the best schools in Imo State. Ngozi cried the day they dropped her off. As the car drove away, she saw Chichi walking into the hostel with her head lifted like a princess returning to her palace. But that night, Ngozi could not sleep. She tossed and turned, imagining her only child, her baby, sleeping among strangers. Something inside her chest felt tight, like a warning. 3 weeks later, the warning became real. A call came from one of the teachers. The woman's voice was small, scared, and shaky. "Madam, your daughter, she is becoming a problem. She bullies the junior students. She even slapped one girl last night." Ngozi's hand shook. Her heart dropped. Her own daughter? A bully? Impossible. That night, she sat awake staring at the ceiling while her husband snored beside her. She tried to calm herself, but the more she thought, the heavier her chest felt. She began to wonder where she went wrong. Then, out of desperation and fear, she came up with the wildest idea of her life. And she decided to do it. The next morning, she told her husband she had gotten a big contract in Port Harcourt and needed to travel within 2 days. Chief Emeka didn't think too much of it. Her wife was always receiving big contracts. He even sent her a large amount of money for her trip. But Ngozi used part of the money to prepare fake documents. 2 days later, she drove straight to Queen of Peace Girls College, Owerri. She used a fake name, Amara Okeke, and disguised herself so her daughter would never know her. She wore oversized glasses, changed her voice to a softer tone, and kept a face mask on at all times, claiming she was allergic to dust. "If I remove it, I will sneeze non-stop," she told the principal. Permission granted. She was led to the hostel. And that was where she saw her daughter. Chichi was pouring water on another girl who had mistakenly stepped on her slippers. The junior screamed in shock as the cold water drenched her. Chichi only flipped her braided hair and hissed loudly. "Next time you see me coming, shift! Shift with speed!" she barked. Her friends clapped like she had done something great. Ngozi froze. Her throat tightened. Her suitcase almost slipped from her hand. This was not the daughter she raised. This was a monster that pride and privilege had created. Chichi noticed the new girl Ngozi standing by the door. She frowned, irritated. All the girls became silent the moment Chichi walked toward her. "Why are you wearing a mask?" she demanded sharply. "And who are you?" Ngozi kept her eyes down. I'm allergic to dust. Chi-Chi scoffed loudly. Dust? In a boarding school? You must be in the wrong place. Her friends laughed. Then Chi-Chi did something that almost made Ngozi's knees buckle. She stepped closer and reached forward, trying to grab the mask off her face. Ngozi's heart jumped. She couldn't let that happen. So she acted fast. She began coughing loudly, so loud it echoed through the hostel, bending over as if she was choking. Chi-Chi jumped back in disgust. Ew, what's your problem? Stay away from me. Ngozi whispered, I told you, I react to dust. Chi-Chi waved her hand carelessly. Abeg, shift. I don't want wahala. Ngozi quietly dragged her box to the farthest bunk, her heart burning with pain as she watched her own daughter walk away, laughing proudly. That night, she lay on her hostel bed staring at the ceiling until her vision blurred with tears. Lord, she whispered, help me reach my daughter before I lose her completely. The next morning came with more humiliation. Chi-Chi slept peacefully on her bed while others dressed for class. No one dared to wake her. Except Ngozi. She walked straight to the bed and pulled off the bedsheet in one sharp motion. Chi-Chi, she said firmly through her mask, get up, you are late for class. The entire hostel froze. No sound, no movement, no breathing. Chi-Chi opened her eyes, confused at first, then furious. Who touched my bed? She shouted aloud. I did, Ngozi said calmly. You need to get up. Before she finished talking, Chi-Chi delivered a hot slap across her face. The sound echoed like thunder. Ngozi staggered back, her eyes burning with the pain of betrayal. Her own daughter had just slapped her. Don't you ever touch my things again, Chi-Chi screamed. Ngozi quietly left the room before her tears could expose her. Later that day, determined to teach her daughter a lesson, she pretended to be clumsy and spilled a bucket of dirty mop water all over Chi-Chi's bed. When Chi-Chi returned and saw it, she exploded. Who did this? Ngozi stepped forward shakily. I'm sorry, I tripped. Chi-Chi's rage burnt like fire. She grabbed the bucket and emptied the remaining dirty water over Ngozi's head. The hostel gasped. Even her friends looked shocked. The house mistress, Mrs. Uju, arrived at that exact moment. What is going on here? Chi-Chi tried to lie her way out, but too many witnesses had seen it. The next day at assembly, the principal suspended Chi-Chi from all school privileges and sentenced her to wash every toilet in the school for 1 week. Humiliation followed. Whispering followed. And for the first time, Chi-Chi bowed her head in shame. That night, she cried quietly in her bed. Ngozi listened, and her heart broke. The next morning, something unexpected happened. Chi-Chi walked up to Ngozi, slowly, hesitantly, her eyes red and swollen. I'm sorry, she whispered. Ngozi froze. Her daughter apologizing? I was wrong, Chi-Chi continued softly. Please forgive me. Ngozi whispered, it's okay. From that day, Chi-Chi changed, or she pretended to. Weeks passed. She became humble, kind, helpful. Students admired her transformation. Teachers praised her. But what Ngozi didn't know was that Chi-Chi had a secret plan. A dark one. One evening, after prep, Chi-Chi went to her corner, opened a small electric kettle she hid, cut a part of the wire and exposed the copper inside. She plugged it beside Ngozi's bed, twisted the wire so the metal bunk would carry current, and quietly walked away. Hours later, Ngozi touched her bed. She screamed as electricity surged through her body. Girls scattered. Chichi ran in, pretending to be shocked. But when she saw the burnt mask, the burnt uniform, she froze. It was her mother. "Mommy," she whispered, and everything inside her broke. Ngozi was rushed to the hospital. Chief Emeka arrived in confusion, anger, heartbreak. Chichi's world collapsed. Chief immediately ordered that she be transferred to a military school. 3 days later, Ngozi woke up with bandages and tears. Their daughter was gone, and nothing would ever be the same. The sound of the military truck faded into the distance, but its echo remained inside Ngozi's heart long after it was gone. She sat up weakly on the hospital bed, her bandaged arm resting on her stomach. The antiseptic smell of the room blended with the sharp sting of her memories. Every time she blinked, she saw the moment electricity knocked her to the floor. Her daughter had almost killed her. Her child. Her only child. "Ngozi," Chief Emeka said quietly as he sat beside her bed. His face was tight with anger, but his eyes were filled with fear. She swallowed hard. Where is Chichi now?" "She has been taken to the military girls' school," he replied. "She must learn. She must change." Ngozi's lips trembled. "She is still my baby, no matter what she has done." Chief Emeka sighed deeply and looked out the window. "Your baby nearly killed you." Ngozi closed her eyes and her tears slid down the sides of her face. She knew she couldn't deny the truth. The burnt marks on her arm, the shock that had reached through her body, they were all real. But the love in her heart refused to die. Meanwhile, far away from the comfort of Owerri, Titi sat stiffly inside the military school office. Her hands shook on her lap. 2 female officers stood behind her, their expressions unreadable, their boots shining like mirrors. The principal, a tall woman with a firm jaw and cold voice, looked at Chichi for a long moment. "You must understand something," the woman finally said. "This school is not like Queen of Peace. Here, you will learn respect, discipline, order. If you fail, you will suffer. If you obey, you may succeed." Chichi didn't respond. She couldn't. Her mind was still stuck in the hospital room. She remembered seeing the burnt mask, smelling the smoke, hearing the scream. The moment she realized she had electrocuted her own mother, the world inside her cracked completely. She tried to speak. I didn't know. It was..." "Keep quiet," one of the officers barked. Chichi's lips sealed instantly. A uniform was thrown at her, old boots, a short haircut instruction, a long list of rules. "You start training at 4 a.m. No phones, no jewelry, no excuses, no crying." Chichi nodded, but her heart felt like broken glass. That night she lay on the metal bunk and stared into the darkness. There was no mattress except a thin hard foam. Her pillow was rough. The blanket smelled like sweat and detergent. The room was quiet except for the soft breathing of the other girls. She buried her face in her hands and cried silently. Not because of the punishment, not because of the fear, but because of guilt. "Mommy," she whispered into the darkness. She didn't know if her mother was alive. She didn't know how to ask. She didn't know how to breathe with the weight of what she had done. In Owerri, Ngozi eventually left the hospital after a week, but home did not feel like home anymore. Every corner of the house reminded her of the daughter she loved and the daughter who hurt her. She would look at the stairs and remember little Chichi running down happily. She would look at the kitchen and remember mother-daughter laughter. She would open Chichi's room and see the posters on the wall and feel her heart twist painfully. Sometimes at night, she would sit on Chichi's bed and whisper, "My child, where did I go wrong?" Chief Emeka tried to be strong for his wife, but he too was a broken man. He tried to hide it, but some nights he sat in the living room long after midnight staring at nothing. The guilt of failing their daughter ate at them both. But something else hid in the shadows, something none of them expected.
1 week after Ngozi returned home, she received a message from an unknown number. She opened it weakly, thinking it might be a client, but her body froze. "Mommy, it's me." Her heart jumped painfully. "Chichi?" But Chichi had no phone. The message continued. "Please, don't block this number. I am not allowed to call you, but my friend helped me. I just want to know, are you alive?" Ngozi pressed her hand to her mouth and began to cry. Chief rushed into the room. "What happened? What happened?" She handed him the phone. He read it silently and then looked away, his jaw tightening. "What do we do?" Ngozi whispered. Chief shook his head. "We must not reply. She's not allowed to contact anyone. If her officers find out, she will be punished." Ngozi closed her eyes in pain. Every instinct in her body wanted to call her baby, but she obeyed. She placed the phone on the table and walked away. Her heart shattered into two. In the military school, Chichi waited all day for a reply. Nothing came. Her chest ached as if someone was squeezing her heart with a fist. Captain Amina noticed her walking slowly during drill and shouted, "Are you tired? Move faster." Chichi swallowed her tears and ran. But that night, something broke inside her. She sat alone behind the school hall, hugging her knees. A quiet voice spoke behind her. "You are the new girl," the girl said. Chichi turned. A slim girl with shy eyes stood there. Her name tag read Amarachi.
Chichi nodded without speaking. "You cried during lights out yesterday," Amarachi said gently. "And this morning, and yesterday morning too." Chichi turned away quickly, embarrassed. Amarachi sat beside her. "It's okay. This place is hard. Everyone cries at first." But Chichi shook her head. "It's not the school. It's my mother. She got hurt because of me." Amarachi's eyes softened. "I'm sorry." Chichi bit her lips so hard they almost bled. "I want change," she whispered. "I can't be the girl I used to be. I don't want to be her again." Amarachi nodded slowly. "Then don't be." That night became the beginning of Chichi's transformation. She woke up early without being forced. She obeyed every instruction. She worked harder than every girl. She stopped complaining. She put her pain into her training. Captain Amina noticed. One afternoon after drills, she said, "You have a strong will. If you use it well, it can save your life." Chichi nodded silently. She wanted to save more than her life. She wanted to save her mother's heart. 2 months passed. One evening, while the girls were preparing for night roll call, a group of masked men attempted to break into a compound in Owerri, the same compound where Ngozi lived. The gatesman shouted for help. The neighbors gathered. The men fled before they could break in, but they left something behind. A warning message scribbled on the wall. "Stay out of school matters." When Ngozi saw the message, her entire body shook. She knew instantly it had something to do with the girl she had disciplined during her disguise, one of Chichi's friends who had sworn revenge. It was no longer about Chichi alone. Someone wanted Ngozi harmed, or worse. Chief Emeka moved her to a guest house for safety. And while she slept there one night, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her heart raced when she saw the message. "Mommy, please, something is wrong, and I think you are in danger." It was from Chichi again, but this time the fear in the words felt real. Ngozi jumped up from the bed, her breath unsteady. How did Chichi know? And who was watching her? Before she could reply, the lights in the guest house suddenly flickered. Once, twice, then went off completely. Ngozi froze, her body trembling. A sound echoed in the hallway outside her door. Not footsteps, something softer, something creeping. Someone was there. Someone who should not be there. Someone who knew where she was. And behind the darkness, A whisper crawled through the silence. A whisper that made her blood turn to ice. Ngozi. She gasped. Her nightmare was just beginning. Morning came slowly, like a tired traveler returning from a long journey. The sun rose oval weary, spreading soft orange light across the red earth and rooftops. But inside the bedroom where Ngozi lay, everything felt heavy and silent. She sat on her bed, her face calm, but her heart full of fear and hope at the same time. Chief Emeka paced the room with loud footsteps. He had not stopped worrying since the call came from the military school. "Mama Chichi," he said, rubbing his forehead. "I do not know what we will meet there. The officer said we must come immediately. That usually means trouble." Ngozi closed her eyes. All night she had prayed for mercy, not for herself, but for her daughter. Chichi's last words before leaving kept replaying in her mind. "Mommy, don't give up on me." She tried to hold on to the hope in that voice, but she also feared what might have happened now. They drove in silence to the military school at the outskirts of Owerri. The compound was large and strict-looking, with tall fences and officers marching from place to place. The sound of whistles, boots on gravel, and sharp commands filled the air. Chief parked the car. They both stepped down slowly. When they reached the commandant's office, an officer in black boots stopped them. "Are you the parents of Cadet Chidima Maimeka?" "Yes," Chief replied quickly. "Follow me." He led them through a long corridor, past classrooms, parade grounds, and dormitory blocks. Every cadet they passed stood upright and saluted sharply. No one smiled. No one looked relaxed. This was a place where mistakes were not allowed. Finally, they reached a small building behind the sickbay. The officer stopped at the door. "She is inside," he said quietly. Ngozi felt her knees weaken. She held her husband's arm tightly. Inside the room, Chichi sat on a metal chair beside a female officer. Her face was bruised. Her lip was cut. She was sweating. Her uniform was dusty and wrinkled. But the moment she saw her parents, her eyes widened and filled with tears. "Mommy!" She ran into her mother's arms and held her like she was drowning, and Ngozi was the only thing keeping her alive. Ngozi held her tightly, stroking her hair. My child, what happened to you?" The commandant entered the room, a tall, serious man with a deep voice. "Sir, madam, I began. Your daughter has been involved in an incident." Chief panicked. "What incident? What has she done again?" But the commandant shook his head slowly. "This time, she did not cause the trouble. She tried to stop it." Ngozi blinked in confusion. "Stop what?" The commandant folded his hands behind him. "Last night, around 11 p.m., 3 senior cadets left their hostel to bully one of the new girls. It is something we have been trying to stop for months. They cornered the junior cadet near the back fence. Your daughter saw them. Instead of walking away like the others, she ran after them and tried to protect the junior girl." Ngozi gasped. Chief frowned. "You mean she fought them?" "Yes," the commandant said. "Yes, she fought them. All 3 of them." Chichi lowered her head, tears running down her face. "Mommy, I couldn't walk away. I saw the girl crying. They were about to beat her. I kept remembering how wicked I used to be. I kept remembering what I did to you. I didn't think. I just ran to help her." Chief stared in disbelief. The commandant cleared his throat and continued. She sustained some injuries, but the senior cadet had been punished severely, and the junior girl is safe because of Chichi's actions. I called you because, after the incident, your daughter broke down. She cried uncontrollably and kept calling your name. Ngozi gathered Chichi's face in her hands. My daughter, look at me. Chichi lifted her eyes slowly. Ngozi wiped her tears gently. I am proud of you. At that, Chichi cried even harder. The commandant stepped forward. There is one more thing. The girl she saved gave a statement. She said Chichi told her something before the fight. What did she say? Ngozi asked softly. The commandant opened a small file. It says, no child deserves to feel the pain I gave to others. I will not let it happen again. Ngozi's breath caught in her throat. Chief Emeka rubbed his eyes and looked away. Ngozi held her mother again. Mommy, Daddy, I want to tell you the full truth. They sat with her. Chichi took a deep breath. When I came here, I was angry with the whole world. I hated the food, the drills, the shouting, the punishment. But every time I suffered, I remembered how you must have suffered when I poured that dirty water on you, or when I slapped you, or when you were electrocuted. The military school didn't just punish me. It forced me to face myself. Ngozi squeezed her hand. Chief nodded slowly. Sometimes, life has to beat us before we understand. Chichi wiped her tears and continued. Last night, before the fight, the 3 senior cadets ordered everyone to stay away. They threatened us. They said anyone who moved would be punished. But when I saw the junior girl crying, I didn't care about punishment. All I saw was my old self, bullying people who were weaker. I couldn't let it happen again. Ngozi's heart swelled with pride and pain at the same time. And when they started beating her, Chichi continued, I jumped in front of her. I defended her. I pushed them back and shouted at them. They beat me, but I didn't stop. In my mind, I was fighting the old Chichi. Ngozi hugged her tightly. My daughter, she whispered, you have done what even many adults cannot do. Chief stepped closer and placed his hand on both of their shoulders. This is what true change looks like. Chichi sniffed and smiled through her tears. I will finish this school. I will return home, and I will make you proud every single day. That is my promise. Moments later, the commandant called them back. It is time for the parents to leave, he announced. Chichi held her parents tightly. I love you, Mommy. I love you, Daddy. Ngozi kissed her forehead. Grow well, my child. Become a great woman. As Chichi marched back to join her platoon, she walked with a new strength. Her steps were bold, her shoulders squared, her eyes filled with determination. No one needed to tell her she had changed. Her life had changed forever. And as Ngozi and Chief drove out of the school gates, the wind blowing through the trees whispered the truth. Sometimes, life breaks us just so we can build ourselves again. And Chichi had finally begun her rebuilding.